Are you looking to increase your sales and boost your selling abilities to the max? Welcome to the Continuous Sales Improvement Podcast with best-selling author Eric Lofholm. Eric has trained over 10,000 students, and they have generated over $500 million in sales increases over the last 20 years. One thing he understands is that being a lifelong learner is key to your sales success. Every week, Eric Lofholm interviews elite sales and business professionals and discovers what helps make them the legends they are today.
Hi, this is Eric Lofholm. I want to welcome all of you to the Continuous Sales Improvement Podcast. And today I'm joined by Clate Mask, the CEO of Keap. And I have a special place in my heart for Keap and for Clate because I'm a customer of theirs. And Keap software is the hub of my company. I run my company using their software and have since, I think, 2006-ish. So I've been a longtime customer, and Clate and I have done some business through the years. So Clate, it's great to be with you. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Eric, great to be with you. And thanks for being a longtime customer. And I'm excited to talk about sales and technology and how business owners and entrepreneurs and salespeople can benefit from it.
Excellent. And as I mentioned to you before we hit the record button, my new book, Continuous Sales Improvement, I want to put some of this content inside of the book so all of my audience that are in sales or business owners or their coaches or their consultants, they can learn from this conversation that we're going to have today. And the reason why Keap is the hub of my business, I use it to communicate with my clients via email. I run all my e-commerce using Keap. I keep track of all of my clients and all the things that they've done with me. And so it does a lot for my small business. And I know that there's small businesses out there or salespeople out there that aren't using a tool like Keap. And so I want to really help them, sell them, if you will, on the benefits of having a tool to keep your life organized. And so maybe you could just speak to, if a business owner is not using a tool like Keap, why would they want to use a tool like Keap?
Yeah, really, that's a great question. I mean, the funny thing is a lot of people probably think, oh, well, you're a software CEO, you're just this technology lover. I'm actually not. I'm not an early adopter of technology where I'm going to go get something right away. I'm not that at all. I'm quite the pragmatic user of technology, meaning that I like to use technology when it's proven to bring efficiency. That's when I like it. I don't like to be on the front lines figuring things. That's not me. And so I want to preface what I say because for mere mortals who are like, I don't care about technology, I get you. I am you. I totally understand. And the reason that a technology like Keap, which is really automating the follow-up process, that's what it is. How do you do more and better follow-up and do it automatically? The reason why I'm so passionate about that is that I see over and over successful entrepreneurs they're very good at following up. And many times entrepreneurs who have a great product, great service, they've got something to offer, they've got happy customers, clients, but they don't maximize their business because there's only so much of them to go around. And there's only so much of their team to go around if they have employees. And so what happens is follow-up slips through the cracks, falls by the wayside, and opportunity is lost. And so the short of it is the reason why business owners should put technology like this in place is so that they can follow up and do it automatically to get the benefits of more time and more business.
Yeah, one of the ways that I speak to that is the concept of familiarity. And the more familiar somebody becomes with us, the more likely they are to buy from us. And so
Right.
I'm staying in touch with my prospects or clients via email, which is likely going to show up on their smartphone because they're going to be scrolling through their emails on their smartphone. It could be their computer too. And then they're going to see me, and maybe there's a subject line of the email that captures their attention. I like to do a lot of webinars, so I might invite them to a webinar. because of them receiving the email. They sign up for the webinar. They spend some time with me that way. And so for me, it's really a game of familiarity, which furthers the person in the sales process. And so I think you're saying the same thing with follow-up. And I think what happens for a lot of people is they'll go to a networking event in person or virtually. They'll get some leads, and then they never follow up with them.
Right.
And so, put them into their Keap application, and then they can start staying in contact with them through the automation, not having to deal with like the fear of rejection.
Right.
The automation. So could you just talk about like, how does the automation work as far as a lead? They get a lead into the system, and then what would happen next?
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right about leads that sort of fall to the ground, fall by the wayside. And what happens is either people don't follow up with them, or they might follow up once or twice. And then it's like, oh, I don't want to bug that person, bother that person. And so it just, it's gone. And it's one thing if you are picking up leads here and there. It's another thing if you're spending a lot of money to get those leads. Now it's like, hey, I need to get a better conversion rate out of these leads, or else I'm investing a bunch of dollars in lead generation that's not yielding the result that I want. So it's really important to treat those leads valuably, to build that familiarity that you're talking about. And the way to do that, to answer your question directly, is through either emails or texts that happen automatically, or you can interject phone calls or tasks for people to take action. You can also send snail mail automatically. Some people will do that. I'll explain to you. People might listen to this and go, really? You would actually send a letter? I'll explain how that can actually be really valuable. But what you're doing is you're building a relationship. You called it familiarity. There's a whole part of whole segment of software out there called customer relationship management that's about building the relationship. And so what happens is whenever you get a lead or the contact information of someone that has invited you to engage in a conversation with them, you bring that into the software, and then the software automatically sends out predetermined communications based on where that person is in their journey or their life cycle with you as a business. So you can have those touch points in communication go out by email, by text. You can use snail mail if you want to do that. You can interject a phone call here and there. So you can imagine that as you're building relationship, having the software do that work for you and keep everything straight so that the right person gets the right message at the right time. And that's a really tricky thing. A lot of people will say, oh, well, I'll just follow up with them a couple of times. Well, what you actually want to do is you want to design the experience and the journey that the individual is going to have coming into your business. And then you want to set that up on a predetermined schedule and have it automatically and effortlessly executed for you. And of course, at any time, you can go in and make an adjustment manually if you say, oh, let's skip that step in this communication process, or this person said they didn't receive that one, so let me resend that. Or let me just interject an extra step here to call the individual and see if there's something that we can do. But putting that kind of communication cadence into autopilot can be incredibly valuable to entrepreneurs who are busy and wearing 20 different hats and trying to keep straight, who gets, what am I supposed to say to this person and when in the customer journey?
Yeah, and a simple way of describing what Clate just shared there for all of you that are listening is I have my prospects in my Keap database, and then I have my clients. And so I might want to send out a message just to my prospects. And I can tell Keap, send this message out via email to everybody who's not a client.
Yeah.
That message goes out. And then I could send a message just to the clients. Or I could say, I live in the Sacramento area, which is the 916 area code. So if I was doing a local event just for local people, I could say, okay, send this message out just to the people in the 916 area code. without a software tool, that'd be virtually impossible.
Right.
To be able to send this message out. And another real world example. So you and I are recording, and we're just getting to the end of the third quarter. So in my business, I want to drive some, last minute revenue to end the third quarter. So I'm in a 2-part webinar over Zoom next week. So I'm going to be emailing out my database, and they're going to come to a landing page to register for the Zoom. But I don't even know the name of the tool, but it's some special tool that integrates Keap with Zoom. So all the people get the Zoom information, but at the same time, they're going into my Keap database. And then I'll be promoting this Zoom meeting in addition to email marketing over social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, driving new leads in. And for all of you that are listening, what happens is if one of my LinkedIn connections opts in for this webinar, the Zoom meeting, they're data entering themselves into my Keap application. And so the leverage that gets created, if there's another coach, like I'm in the coaching space. So if another coach doesn't have an application like Keap, and I do, and if they were competing against me, it'd be nearly impossible because of all of the leverage that I'm getting. And if you're an entrepreneur listening to this right now and you're going, yeah, I've got leads everywhere. They're not organized. I'm not staying in touch with my database. You want to really hear what we're talking about,
Right.
Because this could be a game changer for you.
Yeah, just getting it organized into a database and then being able to access it in all the ways that you described, to slice and dice and talk to different people. That alone, that organization we see with our customers all the time is huge. And then when you start to follow up effectively, and you can do that through broadcasts, or you can do that through one-offs, or you can do that through a series of that becomes powerful. But it's once you automate it, and you called it out. There's so many different use cases for it, or examples where you'll do something like a webinar, and you send the message out, and a subset of people receive that message and sign up. And maybe you send it out another time to your list. You hit the list 2 or 3 times, but there's a bunch of people who never saw the message. There's a bunch of people who did see the message but didn't register. There's a bunch of people who registered but didn't show up. There's a bunch of people who show up who don't buy. And when you put automated follow-up in place for each one of those drop-offs, now what happens is you end up doubling or tripling the sales that come from that webinar. And that's what I think this is where people have a sense of what follow-up can do for them, but they don't realize it, because in a non-technical world, it takes so much manual work to do that it's not reasonable for human beings to do it. So we know this, by the way, the data and the research is very clear that most people buy after they've received a message on average at least 7 times. Sometimes you'll see it as high as 9 or even 12 times, but at least 7 times on average, people see that message before they buy. And yet most business people, most entrepreneurs stop at getting the message out 1 or 2 times. And by the way, those are the good ones. A lot of people sit and never actually even send the message. So the fact that we can triple our results by following up appropriately shouldn't surprise us, because on average, people need to see the message 7 times. And on average, we send the message once or twice, maybe 3 times. So that's what technology can do when you automate follow-up. And whether it's driving people to a webinar, or whether it's a last minute off, end of the quarter offer that you're making to people, or whether it's at an event and you meet some people there, or anytime you're making a presentation to more than one individual, to a kind of a group selling environment, all of those situations are ripe for follow-up and to really increase your conversions as you follow up effectively.
Yeah, and one of the problems that people that are selling or business owners have is fear of rejection. So
Mhm.
if I'm going to actually call somebody, I'm going to have to probably go through a little process in my head, like, well, what if they say no? And do I really want to call them? And do I have the confidence to call them? In a lot of cases, they're not going to call them or text them or email them individually because of that fear.
Right.
What's great is with the automation, there is no fear. It's just automation.
Right.
It's just happening. And so if you're listening to this right now and you're saying, yeah, I need to be staying in better touch with my prospects or my clients / customers or both, this is a way to do it. And it really does work. It makes a huge difference to stay in touch and have people be more familiar. Speak to that entrepreneur that would be a good candidate for using Keap. They don't currently have a solution like Keap. So what would you say to that person as far as like, hey, this would be a great reason to get this technology working for you?
Yeah. We really focus on serving coaches, consultants, experts, and other entrepreneurs, especially those who are they're bringing their knowledge to the market, and their knowledge and their expertise is really what they're marketing. They'll package it up in terms of consulting engagements or knowledge products that are digital products sometimes, subscription memberships, all kinds of different things. But whether it's as well understood and defined as a CPA or an attorney that has a certificate on the wall for their expertise, or a more less defined coach of some sort who, through their life experience, has gained an incredibly valuable knowledge set that they go take out to people who are interested in their knowledge. Those are the entrepreneurs that we serve really, really well. And what I would say is, if you think about this, they're bringing their expertise to the world, and our software is incredibly valuable in helping them to amplify that expertise. And it works also to take away that fear of rejection, as you just mentioned, because I'll never forget when I learned this lesson years and years ago through our own practice of using automated follow-up, but even more so watching what our customers did. And you called it familiarity, and I mentioned relationship, but it's really a step beyond those. It's that you want to be known as the expert to your audience. Well, how do you build that expertise? There's a lot of ways to do it. You can be featured on TV. You can have a certain number of followers on on social media. You can have a huge event where people are coming and they recognize. There's all kinds of ways to demonstrate expertise, or what human beings tend to equate with expertise. But I'll tell you, one of the greatest things you can do is speak to the problems that your prospect is experiencing and do it in the form of some kind of digital communication. And I'm telling you, when I watch this happen and I see a business owner transform in the eyes of their prospects from being a business owner, an entrepreneur selling something, to an expert that is serving and providing valuable information to people, when that shift occurs, it's unbelievable what happens. And what I see all the time our customers doing, especially our coaches and consultants and these experts, they are sharing their expertise digitally. They're through follow-up, because you're not following up just saying, hey, you want to buy? You want to buy? You want to buy? That's not what you're doing. You're following up saying, hey, and what I've learned with people who are dealing with this certain type of challenge, and you speak to the problems that are going on for your prospect, and all of a sudden your prospect begins to recognize you as the expert that they've been looking for, the guide that they need. And now when you get on the phone with that person after step 4 in the follow-up process, where they've been getting this information, now they want to work with you, as opposed to, oh, this person's trying to sell me something. And when you use information and provide that to make that flip, where your prospects are now looking at you as the expert, makes all the difference. It's amazing. And that's what I love to see for our customers. And so for people out there, if you're feeling like you're just in your vein of continuous sales improvement, you're always working to be perceived as the expert. And automating your follow-up and providing this knowledge and information to people, giving them pieces of it for free so that they want to come and consume more and seek you out as the expert, that's the name of the game.
Excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about mindset, because there are some people out there, I'm 52, so I didn't grow up with technology. I started in sales and I was doing phone sales. I don't even think back in the day, we were even using computers.
Right.
Now, technology is a part of, most sales processes. And you have some people that they have the mindset, I'm not a technology person, right? I'm not an email person.
Right.
So I do my best to help them understand that, we're all technology people now, because the smartphone is just, people are addicted to their smartphone. They have it on them at all times. That's how they're consuming their social media. They're usually getting email there. So being able to communicate with people and not that we need to become technology pros, but at least embrace it. So any words of wisdom for somebody who maybe they're a real estate agent, they do the in-home presentations and they're just not comfortable with technology, to help them begin to embrace it?
Yeah, it's a really great point. I think the easiest thing for me when people are, I think the thing that's easiest for people to identify with when they are, they got a technology block. Some people have a math block, some others have a technology block. And I think the best thing is to say, look, when you follow up with your prospects, do you close more business? Well, yeah, totally. Well, how are you doing with your follow-up? Could you do better? Yeah, I have to admit, I'm not always able to stay on top of it with my clients and prospective clients as much as I'd like to. Okay, well, if there were a way for you to authentically, personally connect and follow up with people that doesn't take you a lot of time, would you want to do that? Well, yeah. Would you want to do that if you could do it in a pretty simple way with a phone? Yeah. Do you ever send email? Most people will send an email, right? They may not be email marketers, but they'll send an email. Well, yeah, it can be as simple as that. You're sending emails and you're sending texts and you're doing phone calls. So let's just create a follow-up program for your business that works a little more for you, instead of you having to be the one doing all that follow-up manual work.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with just that mindset of technology block, and it's like,
Right.
we nowadays, you don't need to know like computer code or any of that.
No.
It's simple. If you can send an email, if you can do a post on Facebook, you can be successful with, the basics of technology. And I want to get into just a couple of applications of, like, I'll share one of how I use Keap, and maybe you could just give a couple of other examples just to get people thinking about possibilities. So I have written a number of books. And one of the things I did with one of my books is I converted it to a PDF. I self-published the book, so I own the rights. So if you come to my main website, I'll pop up on video, hey, it's Eric Lofholm. If you'd like a free PDF copy of my book, click here. And then when they click there, it takes them to a Keap opt-in form. And so now just visitors on my website, I'm turning them into prospects because I'm offering something for free. And I think, any website should at least consider that ability, because now you can be, the cost of a lead is pretty expensive and you can just be getting leads for free. What are a couple of other just simple ways that people could use Keap?
Yeah. The most basic example of how people use our software, it's the most common, and it's kind of the first thing that people do, is they use it to collect leads and then automatically follow up with those people to convert them into a client. And here's how they do it. Let's take the example of your book that you break up into pieces. You think about that, there's a digital piece of information that you're providing to people. By the way, we call this a digital lead magnet, right? So what it's doing is it's magnetically attracting the leads that you want, the target audience that you want. And so when you have a digital lead magnet, again, this is the most basic use case, the most common use case that our customers engage in. You take that information, and it could be, by the way, it could be a video, it can be a chapter of a book, it can be a post that you wrote for something, and now you put it into a format where people can get it sent to them, and but you're providing them some information that matters to them. And by the way, the information that you're providing is not about your product or service. This is one of those things that people are kind of like, wait, what? It's about the problems that are solved by your product or service. So you write something, or you shoot a video, or you record an audio, or you do something where you're speaking to the problems that are solved by the product or service that you offer. And you talk about those problems. One of my good friends, who I love because he puts together such great analogies. His book, Story Brand Marketing, a lot of people have heard about, talks about the problems are like the hooks that you're putting out there, and getting customers is like you're fishing. And so if you want to if you want to go out fishing for customers, you got to go put hooks out there and bait out there of the information that matters to your customers. And what matters to them? What matters to them is their problems. That's what matters to them. So you've got a book that talks about some of the problems that you can solve through your expertise that you bring to an organization, right? And our customers' most common use case is they take some information, they make it available, they then send a message out to an audience of people that they think are interested in what they're offering. And that audience could be on Facebook, it could be other kind of social. It could, if they've got an email list, a database of emails, they may do it that way. They may pay for an ad. But the point is, they're creating they go to an audience with an ad that basically says, hey, if you're interested in this free information about these problems to avoid, I've got something for you. And so when people click on that, or they say, hey, I'm interested, they come to a form or a landing page that was created in Keap, and they fill out their information to get this free report or piece of information. In your case, it's a chapter of a book, right? The prospect who's interested in that information fills it out, hits submit, and then Keap automatically delivers that information digitally, automatically takes the prospect's information and puts it into the Keap database for our customer, and then can kick off any number of follow-ups or steps in the process that our customer wants the interested prospect to go through. So it's a simple lead magnet, lead collection and conversion play that we use. We talk all the time about the game that you play, and these are plays that you execute. And so it's probably the thing that we have customers doing thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of times a day, where they're attracting leads that fill out that form. That form was created by Keap. The information is delivered to the prospect by Keap. The prospect's information comes into Keap software, and the automated follow-up happens in Keap to move that person toward either a phone consultation with our customer or a sign-up form online. But there's a conversion event that the follow-up is driving them to. So that's very, very common that our customers are doing all day, every day.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you shared, that like in my case, I'm giving this book away, but it doesn't have to be a book. Like some of you are like, book, I'm not going to write a book. Just do a little 3-minute video.
Yeah.
Hey, put in your email address and I'll send you this 3-minute video, or I'll send you this checklist.
Right.
Send you the special report. And another thing is, you could have somebody opt into your email list and you could be emailing them for the next 15 years.
Right.
Without a software program like Keap, it's unlikely you're going to stay following up with somebody for 15 years. It's certainly possible to do it manually, but most people are not going to do it manually. Another thing, back to my familiarity viewpoint,
Eric, let me just say something on that real quick, because I think you know this and understand it like the back of your hand. Some of the people might not have caught what you just said that's so valuable. Whatever interaction you have with people, the problem we have is we go for the sale instead of building the relationship. Now, I want people to go for the sale. You want them to go for the sale. We all know you've got to go for the sale. Always be selling. We all understand this. Always be closing. Like, you've got to do that. But what happens if they don't buy and your special event or special offer is over? All too often, if you don't have a way to nurture that individual, it's kind of one and done. You had a chance to make a sale and then it's gone. One bite at the apple. Versus what you described is, hey, they may not have bought right now because the timing wasn't right for them. But if you put them in your database and now they get a monthly communication from you about strategies, problems to avoid, the things that matter to them, it might be 6 months later, a year later, 5 years later, where now all of a sudden the time is right for them. And what's more, you're building the relationship with them as the expert source. So they may not be the one that needs your solution, but they might have a sister that does, or a brother, or a neighbor or something. And so the thing that I like to help people understand, particularly when I'm talking to people about sales strategies, is don't forget that sales is a matter of timing, and we can control the sale process, but we can't control the timing for our prospects. And therefore, we want to put timing on our side by putting all these people into a database and having a regular drip, a regular nurture of communication go out to those folks. And when you start to get 10, 20, 30, 40% of your business coming from prospects that you generated a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that's how businesses start to really become profitable and very successful over time, but only if you design it that way.
Yeah, I got a crazy story to share with you. Years ago, I met Bill Glazer, and he asked me if he could interview me to talk about sales scripting to share with his gold members of the Glazer
program.
Yes. So he interviews me. I think it was a phone interview, and it went out on an audio CD. They actually would physically mail these CDs out.
Yes.
And so I said to Bill, can I offer something for free? Because I wanted to capture the leads. And he's like, yeah, no problem. So I set up, it was whatever it was, .com/Bill and Dan, or some landing page.
Right.
So I make the offer, and Bill encourages all of you gold members, you should do Eric's free offer. And I think I got 300 opt-ins roughly. That was in 2011. All those leads are still in my database as of 2022. And
right.
I made a sale last week. It was a $2,500 sale. And the guy asked me, he goes, when did I get connected to you? So I went and looked him up in Keap, and he had opted in from this Bill Glazer interview in 2011 that produced a $2,500 sale in 2022. Without staying in touch with him, it would have been impossible for that to happen. He's probably bought from me 3 or 4 times. So, I mean, think about the power of that. A lead comes in from 2011, 11 years later, produces a sale. And so it really drives home the point that you were just making.
That's a fantastic story. And just so people know, that's not an outlier story.
Yeah.
That is what happens all the time when you have the mentality of building a list and a relationship with the people on your list versus making a sale. And of course, are we trying to make sales? Of course, we're all in sales, right? We all want to do that. But we get so fixated on the here and now sale that we forget about what happens next month, next quarter, next year, in 10 years, 15 years down the road. And I've just I have the benefit of hindsight now. Literally for 20 years, we've been providing follow-up technology to people. I got connected with Dan and Bill in 2004, I think it was.
Yeah.
And, I can tell you the same things of people who got into our list and buy or have been longtime customers because of that relationship. And I think that they do a great job of teaching that you're about building relationships and building a list, not just making a sale. And I get it, especially early on. It's like you got to make that sale to keep the lights on, and that's where 99% of your focus has to be. But if you push yourself and you become intentional and you start to put more resource and energy into an ongoing relationship building, that's what creates not only very strong businesses long term, but very profitable businesses, because those prospects, you're not spending any money to get those. You're just staying in touch with them and following up with them, and it turns into gold down the road.
Yeah. Well, this has been fantastic, Clate. And it's for me as a referral partner of Keap's, and I encourage my clients to become customers of yours. And many of them are going to watch this, or they're going to read the transcript in my next version of Continuous Sales Improvement. It's going to help them understand why I use Keap and then why they should consider using Keap. So I'm really grateful that we took the time out today to capture all this great conversation and get it recorded so I can share it with my audience.
I am too. This has been awesome. It's so fun to hear about your knowledge, your experience, your understanding of it. You have a very practical understanding of how to do this, and it doesn't have to be scary. By the way, you start small, right? You just start small and start building your database, getting your contact information in there, and then you can send an email, and then you can use a form or a landing page to collect leads and follow up with them. It doesn't have to be, you didn't get to where you are doing what you're doing by automating the whole thing and building it out one weekend. Like, that's just not the way it works. You do this over time. You keep it simple. But what I hope people understand is your customer database becomes just gold for you if you work on a mentality of always adding people to your list and always having something of interest for people to receive in exchange for joining your list. And that relationship you have with them, you have to honor in each interaction. You're giving them value, and they're receiving that value, and they continue to be a part of your community, your tribe, your following, however you want to think of it. And you do a great job of that. I'm excited for your book. I appreciate you being a longtime customer, and now a longtime friend and referral partner, and just helping other entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, trainers, experts get the value and the benefit of automating their follow-up. When they see it begin to happen, that aha moment is just priceless. I love it. It's so great. And I know you know it. You've seen it over and over. And you and I both have a passion to help others experience it.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to wrap up another great edition of the Continuous Sales Improvement Podcast. I appreciate all of you that are listeners. Please share this podcast with your network, your friends, your colleagues, and I'll look forward to connecting with you on the next podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, make sure and subscribe to get notified of new episodes each week. And check out our other great episodes by going to continuoussalesimprovement.com. That's continuoussalesimprovement.com. And while you're there, pick up Chapter 1 totally free of my new book, Continuous Sales Improvement. Just opt in when you go to the website. Until next time, keep on improving. I'll see you in the next episode.